What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professionals Project. My name is Kenton Hipsher. I'm the CEO and founder of the nonprofit, and our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youth by exposing them to the careers of Black and Brown professionals, like the lovely one that we have here with us today, my friend, my Rose Holman alumnus, definitely one of the best teachers out there in the world right now, especially in the digital game. She's just killing it, just crushing it right now. Miss Angelica Cox.
Thank you so much, Kenton, and I feel very honored to be welcomed onto your platform.
Thank you. I'm honored to have the best teacher in the digital game right now, just running things out here.
I appreciate it.
I love it. Well, without any further ado, we've kind of already spoiled a little bit of what your profession is, but tell the folks, tell the audience out there, what's your profession and what industry do you work in?
So I work at Thrival Indy Academy. I am the 9th grade math teacher there, and that school is a study abroad school. I've worked at that school before, and I've taught at many schools actually teaching math. And currently I consider myself a YouTuber because I create these help videos for my students that at first it was a struggle because I couldn't figure out how to get the videos onto Google Classroom. And so that's why I started making the videos on YouTube and then attaching the link. And then I realized that more than just my students were watching the videos, and I started getting subscribers. And I know that my students were not subscribing at first. So I was like, where are they? Is out there watching math? But we're in a pandemic, and virtual learning is the thing right now. So if a person's original teacher does not know how to properly teach through video, then the students are going to find something else, and they found me.
That's awesome. I'm so happy, so excited to be able to just learn about your story and share with people, because I think it's going to be a really good one, and it's just so cool, being so adapted into the digital age that we're in now. And well, really, we've all been forced to adapt into the digital age that we're in now. But I'm happy with it, because for me, when I was in high school, especially in college, I did a lot of YouTube Academy, lots of learning on YouTube, just all day, every day, because, sometimes you walk into a class and you have no idea what just happened. Like everything just over your head. So then you got to go back to your room and then try to watch some videos online and figure out how to get stuff done. So I'm excited to see that the trend is still heading that way.
Yeah, even as a teacher, I use YouTube to figure out how to do my Google Classroom, because it was new for me being a virtual teacher. And that's a thing that I don't feel like a lot of people who aren't in this profession think about. Is I learned how to be an in-class teacher. I did not learn how to be a virtual teacher. So I had to understand how to recreate certain learning styles through technology, because there are so many students who are tactile learners. They need to touch and not just the keyboard. So it's harder to change your mindset.
I understand. I completely understand. Because for me, I'm very much so the same way with certain subjects, right? Like for math, I need to physically do a bunch of problems. I just need to be able to do them. But learning the philosophy behind it, I feel like I can get, through watching videos. But then for physics or something, I physically need to drop a weight or something so that I can see that this happens.
Yeah.
And so it's a change for a lot of people, especially for teachers like yourself, because, like you said, you weren't taught to be an online professor. You were taught to be in a classroom. So It's a very, very different experience. Great. Well, I'm very curious to dig into your story. So before I do, let me just back up and give people a little bit of a walkthrough of what a typical day in the life is like for you as a teacher. Let's say pre-pandemic and now during the pandemic, because I'm sure that it's changed.
Okay. So a typical day in the life of Angelica Cox. It's pretty simple, especially when I'm working, because I guess pre-pandemic, I was still going out. So I wake up early in the morning. School starts way too early, by the way. I don't know who made that decision. It was not the teachers, especially not this teacher. I don't like waking up in the dark. It's weird to my body. But so right now I wake up at about 5:30. School starts around 7:20. Yeah, so that's when I actually start teaching. Actually start, have to be in front of little humans, teaching them math. That's a thing. And so then I'm in the school until about 2:10. Sometimes I'm staying after a little bit later to tutor students. That's pre-pandemic. I was staying after school tutoring students. Sometimes if I was still at the school during games, I would go see one of my students' games and just come home, find something to eat, watch a little TV, and go to sleep, do it all again. That was my typical day. Pre-pandemic, when people were still going out, I would go to this open mic called Vibe on Wednesday. It's not up and running anymore, but I would just find something that was the arts community to go to. Because I needed that other part of me included. Now during the pandemic, in the virtual world, I wake up later, which is wonderful. And it just makes me want us to stay virtual. I'm like, this is the life. In front of the computer, teaching. What I typically have right beside my computer is a whiteboard, marker, cloth. Go ahead and teach from behind the screen, and then shut off my computer, watch more TV, go to sleep, same thing. So we cut out the driving part. That's basically what we did, and the people part.
I see. Well, that's good, because now you get a little bit more time back to you. I think it's very, very interesting that, students are having to adapt to this sort of online learning process, because you have to write things on this board and then show them and then write more things to show them. And it just seems like such an unusual, peculiar experience. But then when I think back to my time in the classroom, and this may date me a little for some of the audience, but working on projectors, it's essentially the same thing. You were just sitting there watching them write on a projector and talk. There was nothing any different than what you do now, essentially.
That is so true. Wow. I didn't even think about that. You dated us both, because now we're having a connection. Yeah. Wow. The only thing was we were breathing each other's air.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was it.
Disgusting. I actually like the mask. So
yeah.
I never found it hard to breathe with the mask.
I'm all for it. I'm definitely a supporter of that. So thinking about the typical day in your life, teaching, what is it, 9th grade again?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what is a 9th grade curriculum right now? Has the curriculum changed at all because of the pandemic, or is it still the same?
So it's basically Algebra 1.
Okay.
And next year, I believe I'll be teaching geometry, and I forgot the next 2 subjects after that. But yeah, a lot of schools that I know, they start off with Algebra 1 for 9th grade. And it seems about the same as what it was back when we were in high school. Math hasn't really changed on the high school level, I would say. But I have definitely seen changes throughout the time that I have been teaching.
Gotcha.
as far as how the math was taught. So when I first started teaching, we had to teach this curriculum that included a lot of words. And I did not, me and the other math teachers did not like teaching that curriculum. There were just way too many words. And it was hard because we were losing a lot of students in math class because of the reading. And that's supposed to be the escape from words. Now, we both know that with math and with algebra, you have your X and your Y. Okay, you have variables, but you don't have a bunch of paragraphs. You don't have a bunch of words. Yeah. So we didn't like that. And that didn't last for long. And and when there's so many words in the math curriculum, it makes it hard for the parents to help the students out as well, because it's like, back when we were in high school, they didn't have all those words. It was just 3x plus 7y equals 10, go. Yeah. And that's what the curriculum I'm working with has right now. It has a lot of the problems that we're used to seeing. So it makes me feel good doing those types of problems instead of the all story problems.
Yeah, I know. Even in my mind, I'm just thinking, the hardest part about math classes for me was definitely trying to understand what the question was asking.
Yeah. It wasn't the actual calculating part. It was, okay, what are you telling me to do?
Exactly.
I'll do it. Just tell me what to do. And I think that's why I didn't really like geometry like that. I liked the algebra and the calculus, and more so than the geometry, because I just wasn't sure what to do. There's so many ways to look at this triangle. Which angle are you talking? Like, what type of angle? I have to look at it. But when it's just equations or just sine and cosine and tangent, I got it. Okay, you never turn a graph. Like, you never have to look at that different angle. The equal sign is always horizontal. So. And when it's vertical, it's not an equal sign anymore. It's parallel. So, yeah, that's why geometry was not my forte.
I totally get it. For me, I did well in geometry, but I was definitely more, y equals mx plus b person, not a, you got this octagon and this pentagon. Somehow they're like mixed together. You got to calculate what the angles are. And it's like, why? Why do I need to do that? I don't. But for some people, maybe that's helpful for their careers, but I digress. I don't want to go down this tunnel of hatred. But moving back into a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis. So you're working with kids, and essentially just getting them prepared for the next level. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask personally, which I've always thought about when professors design their curriculum or think about their classes, is there a goal in mind that each student just needs to, you just need to understand this one thing and just show me that you understand it and then that's it? Or is it are you thinking about what classes do they have to come forward after your class, and how can you prepare them for that? Because there was a couple of times where I remember being a student and walking into a class the next year, supposed to be the next level up, and then there were things that I didn't learn all of a sudden that I was expected to know. I was like, I don't know what any of this is.
So that is a really good question. And what I want to say to that is I personally focus on what do my students need to do in order to figure out this problem, like making sure they use their resources. So right now with their quizzes, I work out their quizzes on a YouTube video. And I do most of the problems and I leave off about 4 or 5 problems each and every time. I've been doing this since the pandemic started, because we started virtual. And I did that because I wanted them to use that resource. The video is right there. As long, I don't expect you to know it off the top of your head. I don't expect you to remember it, because honestly, for the problems that I teach the students, I make sure I double check myself. I go to Google and I make sure, okay, this is what it means. Okay, so let me go ahead and say this on the video. All of this is not coming from my head. So I am going to always put the videos on there because that's a resource. And other teachers are doing the same problem on YouTube. I'd rather you listen to me than listen to another teacher, because at least when you're listening to me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or I can say, I already said this. I already told you. I may not have said it in real life and real time, but I said it in this video. Just watch the video. I already said it. Just watch the video. And so it takes off a lot of time for me having to re-explain as well.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of went on a tangent with that, but I'm not thinking about what the students need to know for the next level as far as material, because I understand they're going to forget. I forgot. And I majored in math. So
It's like, I have a degree.
So I definitely want them to use their resources, know how to research, because so many people our age, as we can see, don't know how to research. Or they don't know what to believe when they hear it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost like a overload of information. There's like so much feeding you all the time that you don't really know what's real and what's not real. And it's hard to make a decision. Right. I ran into that same issue you were talking about, watching videos from other professors and then going to my professor's class and doing something. And they're like, well, yeah, that works. But it's like, I do it this way. So I expect you to do it this way.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but the answer is still right. So I don't know why that's a problem. But I mean, I understand, because it's harder for the professor to then go back and try to fact check that work, because that's not the method that will carry on throughout the rest of the course. So, right. I mean, I totally understand that. Yeah, that makes sense. So moving on into more about your story, can you tell the audience, how you got started down this path of education? Because I'm sure everybody when they're younger isn't thinking like, I want to be a teacher. Like, that's not their first goal in life usually. So walk me through, like your early high school years to you going through college and now getting to where you are today.
Okay. So like you said, I don't think many people grow up saying, I want to be a teacher. I'm sure there are a lot, and I love those people because those are a special type of people. I'm also a special type of person, but I did not desire to be a teacher when I was in high school or even at Rose-Hulman. We don't have that major. No. But ever since high school, I had always been tutoring, which is a type of, is basically teaching, but it's just one-on-one teaching. I love tutoring. I tutored my friends. And then when I got to Rose, I actually started a tutoring type of program in one of the local churches in Terre Haute. And then I also worked at the Summer Engineering Experience for Kids, hosted by NSBE every summer. And I really liked that opportunity because I was working in different cities, and that was my first introduction to teaching. So I started with 4th grade, then I was teaching 5th grade, and then just either 4th or 5th grade, whatever they would give me. And seeing that spark in their eyes, just learning different types of engineering, I am definitely in love with everything engineering. That's what I wanted to do my whole life. I wanted to be an architectural engineer. And when I got to Rose, the closest thing to that was civil engineering. And there was a point in time where I was like, not civil engineering, math and economics. That's another story. My students know that story. I'm not going to tell the internet at this moment. But so I became a math and economics major. And just the working with the SEEK program and being a math major and not getting the job in the consulting firm that I had applied to, teaching was actually my plan B. And I believe everything happens for a reason. And I feel like God told me that I needed to be a teacher for at least a little bit of my life. So how I got to be a teacher was I applied for this program, this fellowship called the Woodrow Wilson Teaching Fellowship. I got the fellowship, and the agreement is to teach at a high need school for about 3 years. It's been past 3 years and I'm still in teaching, but I love it. I do.
That's awesome. It's really cool to hear, how you shifted a little bit here and there to kind of get you to where you are today. It's like, it hasn't been extremely big changes, but there have been some moments definitely where you kind of taken a turn from where you originally thought you were going. And I think that really helps reiterate a point that I want to make, which is teachers are people, right?
Yeah.
Like at their core, they're still people. And I know for those of you who are in school still, it may be hard for you to understand this, but they're people. And it's like, I don't think you really understand that until you get out of school and you have to teach someone something, or you're in school and you're doing like a TA-ship or something of that sort. Then you really start to grasp that teachers have lives, right? It's everything is not focused on, like, they don't wake up first thing in the morning just thinking, okay, what new obstacle can I give these students just to drive them crazy? They're not thinking, oh, I know they have 8 other classes, so let me just add tons of work to them because I want to.
Right.
They're not the bad people. They're there to do their job.
Right. And I don't know of any bad teachers that have ever thought of, let me put more work on the students. No, we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we simplify it? Because they're not even doing this, the one thing that I told, the like small amount that I told them to do. So I have seen a trend in the school system actually relating to that, where this was this past year, well, last semester, I guess. It's still 2020. But at the school I was teaching at, I just felt like the material was getting done. Not the material. Let me backtrack. It was the grading system. The grading system seemed like it was like putting up the bumpers at a bowling alley. The highest percentage that we could give the students, the lowest percentage we could give the students was 50% or something like that. And I was like, what? You don't want me to give a 0? What? No, zeros are a thing. Why is the lowest thing this percentage? That's not what they earn. That's not what they're showing that they know. So the grades are really inflated. And I'm like, they didn't inflate our grades back then, did they? I feel like if we got everything wrong, it was a 0.
Yeah, I got many zeros. It was like, I don't get me wrong, I was a good student, right? Like, I was in high school, I did very well, got to college, and they were just like, look, I'm gonna hand you this 0 right here because this is what you deserve. I've told this story on here a couple of times, but I just remember, my first official exam in college and walking out of there with a 19%, just bewildered, just like, what did I do? Like, what did I do? I don't understand. And I do see what you're saying. The teaching that I've done has been in the South, but growing up in the North, I have a bit of an understanding of the teaching standards, or I should say the grading standards for each area. And typically, more so than not, the North is usually better in terms of education. When you look at the grades, right? When you look at just the grades of people, the North typically has better grades when you look at the South. But I agree with you in that I think the standard in which students are held is it's too low, in my opinion. I can't generalize and say the whole country because I don't have experience in the whole country, but at least when I was down south, I was just shocked at how minimal effort you have to give to get a decent grade. Whereas for me, it was like I had to go above and beyond to get a 94 versus a 93. Like I had to really push myself to get that 1%. But there, you could just do the bare minimum and pass. And it just blows my mind. I don't understand it, but education is something that as a whole, is a whole nother issue. It's a whole big thing that we're working with and working towards. Obviously bettering that system right now. But it's at least good to know that there are people like you who are willing to challenge that system, willing to challenge the students still and say, hey, you gotta push yourself. This is not going to be an easy process, but I'm not also going to make it extremely difficult. I'm going to give you the resources. You just need to use them.
Yeah. It's about using the resources. And I feel as if this country has not only lowered standards as far as the grading scale goes, but also just in general, with our highest seat of office. I'm not trying to make this political, but the last president was not qualified for the position. And it's why did we lower the bar so much? There should be a political test. There should be certain things that the person who is in the highest office has to pass. It should be harder than getting into college.
Yeah.
You have to write all these essays. You have to take all these tests, score a certain score for the SAT or the ACT. There has to be a certain level of intelligence to get into the colleges like we got into. Rose-Hulman, it's the #1 engineering school. It should be harder to get to the highest seat of our country than to get into Rose-Hulman. And you got to be really smart to go to the school that we were at. So, we just got to lift those standards up as a society.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. We can push ourselves and do better every day. There's always more you can do. Obviously, you don't want to, create immense amount of stress and anxiety on people, but there are standards that can be lifted, and there's room for that lift ultimately. But thinking to your role as a teacher, what would you say are some of the obstacles that you face as a teacher?
So I would say an obstacle that I face is, so it's kind of weird because growing up, you've always seen teachers, from elementary school to, graduate school, and up. And so seeing a certain profession makes you think you know what the profession is about. It makes you think you can just hop in that person's shoes. But being on the other side now, as a teacher for a few years, I'm like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And as a math teacher, if I only taught math, that would be cool. That would be the perfect job. Just go up to the building, teach a little something, leave, don't think about work. But as a teacher, teaching is life. It literally is. Because when I wake up in the morning, I actually do think about what I could do as far as my class goes. When I go to bed, I do have thoughts about how I can restructure my class, or what I should have done better, or what I'll do next time, or what's going to be in the next few months. So that would be cool. I'm constantly thinking the job doesn't really stop. And it's also a type of job where you are putting on a mask more than just the work hours. So with certain jobs, you know, you have this professional talk, like because you're on the phone and you can't stray away from that. But after you're out of the call center, you
Ooh,
can
what
take
up,
off that mask. Right, you know, you can take off that mask, but as a teacher, that mask really never stays off, or you feel weird if you take it off because it's just like, oh, you're a teacher. I'm also not at the school right now. Like, what? I don't understand. So it's weird being in that position and like feeling like you can't be your most authentic self all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been a couple times when I first started teaching, I was thinking, what if I see a parent at the club? Like, I'm in my early 20s, I belong at the club. Like, so it's just like back and forth, like, I'm still young, but like when you think of teacher, you think of, you know, somebody older, just staying at home. Like, yes, I just stay at home, but like, it's not because I'm older. It's just, I'm a homebody. But it's just like trying to get your minds, like trying to refocus that teachers are people. And I have to remind myself, I have all these different facets of myself. Like, I am not just a teacher. I'm an artist. I'm a poet. I'm athletic. Like, I'm into yoga. I'm into dancing. Like, I'm into so many different things. And I have to remember that that part is still alive. I feel like we kill different parts of teachers' personality because we're like, nope, you're a teacher. Nope, stay a teacher. Don't do all that extra stuff. You're a teacher. Nah, I like a little bit of everything.
Yeah. No, I think that is something that's very important. And it's funny because I was going to ask you, you know, next, what's the one misconception about you or your career? And I think that would be it, is that teachers are just like classic pencil skirt, like, you know, blouse over with the sweater, with the glasses, hair tied up, just like, you know, today class, we're going to talk about.
Right.
That's what everybody thinks happened. But teachers be out here. They be out here at the bar, at the club, you know, they're in your local Walmart. They're everywhere because they're
musicians, they're artists. Like, they can run laps around you. They are people. They are young people. A lot of teachers nowadays are very young, because, you know, the older teachers are retiring. And so it's like a new wave of teachers right now. Mm-hmm. And we got to remember that they are young, out here doing stuff.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know, we have to give you as teachers the grace to live your lives. You know, we have to remove you guys off of the pedestals and let you live the way you want to live without it being, you know, filtered through this teacher lens of sorts. You know, everybody is not at their job every minute of the day. You don't expect a mechanic to be a mechanic all the time. Like, that's just the reality.
Now, if you are driving with a mechanic and something breaks down, like, yeah, you expect your friend to figure it out. Just like if I was with a person trying to start their own business and they were working with numbers. I'm a math teacher. Math was my major. Like, yes, I know numbers. Let me help you out with your, you know, financial plan, because I can work out those equations. I can figure them out. So, you know, yes, that is our profession. We are very knowledgeable about what we are teaching, but, you know, we're also trying to make it down to Florida. So, you know, we like to be on the beach too. Okay. Yeah. Not just in the classroom.
Exactly. Students aren't the only one going to Florida on spring break. Okay. We're trying to be out here.
It's our spring break too. Okay, those older people in the crowd during spring break in Florida, okay, they look so old because they're teachers. Those weren't the students.
They got their big cup. They're sipping with long straw. They ready to go. I love it. I love it. So, outside of that struggle and some of the other struggles that you've mentioned in being a teacher, what are some of the things that get you excited about teaching? You touched on that a little bit, but as somebody who's, young, trying to decide or at least figure out what they're interested in, what about teaching interested you and initially drew you to the career?
So what excites me about teaching is the fact that I will have a lasting impact. So when you think back to when you were in middle school or high school, you're like, yeah, that was my 8th grade math teacher. You will always remember like, oh, that was 8th grade math teacher, or that was my freshman math teacher, or sophomore math. You can kind of remember that specific person. So the fact that I am the 8th grade teacher for like 2 sets of students, and I was the 9th grade teacher or the 10th grade teacher, I am the person for somebody. And I just feel like it feels so deep. Like, because when you're working at a call center, I just keep saying this because that's the only job that comes to my mind right now. But like, you don't remember the person that you talked to on Tuesday. Like, it's not that impactful. It doesn't have that big of a moment to your life. But like, for people to remember you for the rest of your life, like I have students that are, I think 22 is the oldest student that I'll have, like the oldest former student. So there's somebody up in the club where they'll be like, Miss Cox. And I'll be like, whoa, you are old enough to be here. That's weird. And so I shouldn't be in the club anymore. But I'm still in my 20s. So it's just like, why did I take such an old profession? Like, I don't even know what to say.
You've got to be the person to flip that, though, right? You got to see the change you want, or be the change you want to see, right?
Right.
You got to flip it. So if they're in the club, you can be in the club too. You can do what you want,
But it is exciting just thinking about different impacts that I have, and also being at the specific school that I'm at, where we study abroad. I will be the adult that they first went out the country with. That is just going out of the country in general is a huge moment in somebody's life. So to be the adult that took them out the country, that helped with that opportunity, that is maybe a once in a lifetime chance for a lot of people. A lot of people don't go out of the country in general. So to have that attachment where whenever they think of the first time out the country, they think of me because I was there. It just kind of humbles myself because I have to, make sure that I am at the point where, I am that role model. You gotta be a role model as a teacher. For and sure. if you don't see yourself as a role model, you need to figure out what makes you good. You have to get yourself to the level that you are a role model to somebody, because I don't think anybody is not worthy of being a type of role model. Everybody is. You just have to elevate yourself to that level. If you don't feel like you are, get there.
That's a word right there. Elevate, elevate. Just right there.
We're all capable of elevation.
I love it. That just like made me think about something that I was just going over and over in my mind, which is, all teachers are not great. That's something we as society probably need to acknowledge more, is all teachers are not the best teachers. They're not all going to be the ones to change your lives, and they may turn into that over time, but everybody starts from the same place, right? No one just comes out of the womb as like a perfect teacher or something like that. So we have to just be kind individuals and understanding people and try to give them the grace to just live in their life as they are. Now, I do say that with some caveats, right? Like, I understand you look at your teacher as the person who's supposed to be the source of knowledge for, this specific set of information. They're supposed to be helping you learn. So if they're not doing that, then it's very easy for us to just say, oh, well, I don't get it, so the teacher must just not be good. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily true, because everybody learns in different ways. And they're doing their best to try to teach you, right? And I feel like a lot of people who have that experience don't necessarily reach out to the teacher and inform them of that so that they can make changes or adapt to the situation and try to help them learn. Because I've been up there and just saw like blank faces. Just like I'm talking and I feel like everything I say makes sense, but out there is like deer in headlights, and I'm just thinking like, why is this not connecting for them? Like in my mind? And it's a very tough position, right? Because to be a teacher at its core is to teach someone, but to be a great teacher is to be able to teach someone something in many different ways. I think that's what really distinguishes great teachers from just the everyday teacher, because people need to hear it sometimes in, forwards, reverse, from the side, just all these different ways, because everybody receives things differently.
Right, exactly. And that's why I like so much that our school also focuses on the personal development of the student. So we try to get the students to learn themselves. And it's important for a person to know themselves, just in general, whether it be a student or whether it be an adult. It's important to know yourself so that you can help somebody help you. If you don't know what stresses you out or you don't know what relaxes you, how are you going to expect somebody else to know that? So I really love that we focus on the mental health and emotional health of our students, as well as teach them.
I see that becoming more and more of a trend, I think, over time, more so in the newer schools than some of the older schools, because they still have some older teaching traditions that they just like to follow. But in the new school of, for lack of better words, they're acknowledging that sometimes it is just a lot on students. Like, could you like try to put yourself in their shoes, remove your experience and just think, okay, I have to learn something new every day for virtually 365 days out of the year, and I never get a break, like never a real break. And that can take a toll on a lot of people. And, there's a whole discussion about the personal development of the student versus their home life versus their classroom. And teachers are, for some reason, being given like all this responsibility to raise children when that's not their job. But I don't want to go too far into that, because I know that is a hot topic right now.
It is. And it was a struggle for me when I first started teaching, being so young, because I cannot tell somebody how to parent. That is not my place. And also, I've never lived with this specific child. I don't know all the ins and outs, the triggers, the things that I should not say, the things that I should say, how I should act, because this person I am meeting for the first time. So it's hard to work with a child and teach a child if the parent does not keep that in mind. Like, yes, this is my first time meeting you and your child. Nice to meet you. Let's not be strangers. Let's teach this child together. Yes, my title is teacher, but I also need you to teach your child. We are both teachers. Just like I'm going to be teaching the child respect, which is not a math topic, but I expect you as a parent to also teach your child respect. So I should not have any disrespectful children, because that lesson should be taught by the parent.
Exactly.
So I think we have to, as a society, understand that yes, teachers teach, but parents need to teach as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, for a lot of people, that's not the easiest balance, because similar to, or not similar to, I should say, different from teaching, a specific topic. There's no curriculum for parenting. There's no guidelines. You just got to figure it out. So I totally understand, or can empathize with both sides of the situation. But I do think that it does take both parties to accurately or adequately teach somebody or a student something. You need the parental side and the teacher. So yeah, I get definitely.
It takes a village.
It does. It does for sure. Well, we're already getting close to the end. I know it goes by so fast, but I really enjoyed having you on here, and I'm super excited to share this with everybody. But talking about things that make you excited about teaching and some of the things that you've had to hurdle over in terms of your journey to teaching, what advice would you give to the young Angelica, just out there living in the world, trying to figure out what she wants to do? What advice would you give to her, or somebody else who wants to maybe follow in your footsteps and become a math teacher?
The advice that I would give young Angelica would be to not be afraid to dream big. That sounds a little cliche, but I want to add on that speaking things into existence and believing in yourself has such a big impact. Like, if you're going to dream, might as well dream big. And if you don't reach whatever you dreamt big of, the shortfallings will still be good, because you dream for the top. Okay, so whatever is not at the very top, then what's right beneath it ain't so bad. So I decided to tell myself that I'm a billionaire. So if I'm a millionaire, hey, it's not as high up as billionaire, but millionaire is not bad.
I'm okay. So, I ain't gonna hold you.
Right. So I'm gonna figure it out, because I'm good with numbers. I can get there. Mm-hmm. So definitely, have super high goals for yourself. And people that are going into the teaching profession, and it's actually their dream to go into their teaching profession, I would say never forget what it was like to be in that seat. Never forget what it was like to be a student, because what worked for you might work for them. So think about what your previous teachers did or did not do that really helped you out. Don't think of it as, how can I help this person? Think about what made this type of person successful. So, I'm not all types of people. So I will ask different types of people what made them successful. And I use that knowledge in order to apply it to my students. So I can figure out, how can I make this specific personality type the best it can be?
Man, that's something right there. If everybody could just keep that in mind, that the world would be a little bit better of a place. I believe it. I believe it 100%, really, because thinking back for me to, man, like, what is it, freshman year, calculus 2, getting just beat up, just bing, bing, bing every day. It was just an assault on my character. I was not ready for it. And then, passing, but then going to retake it and having a new professor who had a whole different style of teaching, and it just clicked. It's like everything just started rolling for me, and I was just like, why did this take me so long to understand? It's like, why didn't I just do this before? And that's when it really hit me that, oh wow, I learn in a different way than lectures. Lectures do not help me. I just goes right over my head most of the time. So I need to do it. I'm a doer. I'm not just a listener and then repeat. So if everybody as teachers could keep that in mind, and as young people, more importantly, try to learn yourself. I tell people this all the time. College is not about learning a specific skill set. What you actually learn in college is just how you learn as a person. That's basically what you get. And you get a piece of paper that says, hey, this person is proficient in these things and they know how to teach themselves, so they'll figure it out when they're on the job. That's what a real college degree is. That's what it boils down to. You pay a lot of money for it, but that's what it really is. So if you can figure that out now, earlier, before you go to college or make your college decision, you probably save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time, because you'll know how to work efficiently. You'll know what works for you. And that's way better than just, going with the motions and just doing something and then getting in all this debt.
Yeah, I agree. And if you can go to college for free, do it. It may not be the number one college that you wanted to go to. And actually, that was my situation. Rose-Hulman was not my number one choice. It was number 2.
Same.
But number 1 did not want to give me that money. That was the only college that did not give me a full ride. But it just wasn't meant to be. I was meant to be at Rose-Hulman.
Yeah, that's what it is. That is what it is, people. I haven't shared my personal journey yet, and I feel like now is a good time to do it, because people keep asking me. They keep saying oh, you should share this with people, because I had the same situation happen with me. Rose was not my first pick. To be honest, I didn't even know what an engineer actually did until I got to Rose. That was the first time I knew what they actually did. When you told me engineer, I thought Army Corps of Engineers, building bridges or something. That's what I thought they did, but it's way deeper than that. There's way more fields than that, and I'm very happy that I was given the opportunity to go there on a scholarship, because that was the only thing I could afford. But I was very happy that I was given that opportunity, and I'm grateful, even though it was a struggle. So I'm not going to discredit the struggle, but I am grateful nonetheless. So with that, at this point in time, go ahead and plug what you got to plug. Any closing shout outs you want to give, shout out to the moms, the dog, anybody.
So I want to give a shout out to my mom. She is the number 1 cheerleader for me. Oh my gosh, she is so excited to watch this video. And also, of course, my dad, of course. My brother. If I keep shouting out family, I'm going to be here all day. So let me stop. But I also want to give a shout out to my Principal Huey of Thrival, Indy Academy, the study abroad school that I work at right now. She was actually my mentor during my first year of teaching. And so she was a teacher when I first started teaching, and now we have elevated to where we are starting our own school. Well, we're in 9th grade right now, and then each year we're going to build onto the school. So eventually it's going to be a 4-year high school. And it's just so awesome being a part of this creation, because when I first jumped into this profession, she was my mentor, and now she is my principal. So it's just awesome seeing that growth. Also, since I do consider myself a YouTuber now.
Go ahead.
Let me go ahead and plug that in because I be working out the problems. You will never see my face, but you will see my hands working out those problems. So the link to my YouTube video, I'm sure, will be below in the descriptions. And I also tutor. So after work is done with, I am a personal tutor. So I tutor one-on-one, and just people can contact me through my email in order to set up a tutoring session for their child. I have taught fourth grade through senior year of high school. I can definitely tutor in math and on the college level because, again, I majored in it at Rose-Hulman. So I know my numbers.
That is dope. Make sure y'all go check that out.
I don't know why he keep on blessing me. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why he keep on blessing me. I don't know why. I don't know why he keep on blessing me. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why he keep on blessing me. I've been in the kitchen steady mixing up the recipe. Devil on my shoulder claiming he gon' get the best of me. Scoop up on my line, he said his life is such a...
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Well, you guys know what time it is. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you let us know in the comments. How are you feeling about this? You know, are you loving my tie? You should be, because it's classy. It's a classy tie, okay? I do this for y'all. I do it all for y'all. Are y'all thinking of like, what's Miss Cox gonna do next? What's module 3 about? If you want a sneak peek or something, maybe drop in the comments. She might let you know. You never know what's coming. Hey, it's the #Black Professionals Project, and it's been another excellent episode. Thank you all for tuning in. And before I go, make sure you check the description for all the links, because the links got everything you need, baby. They got it all. Free programs, free scholarships, paid internships, all that. Gonna be in the description, man. All of it. Check it out. See how it is. Figure out what you like. That's what we're here for. Once again, my name is Kenton Hipsher. We will see you guys next time. Thank you to Miss Cox. We are out.